Hey, what's up, Los Angeles Kings fans? In my last video, the Kings were getting ready to take on the St. Louis Blues and then the Arizona Coyotes in back-to-back home games. And I discussed in that video how the Kings pretty much needed to win both of those games. And of course, they went out and lost them both. They lost 3-1 to St. Louis, which was really damaging because instead of being 1 point back of St. Louis, had they won that game in regulation, they fell 5 points behind St. Louis. So that's not good. Then the next night, they took on the Arizona Coyotes, who also had played the night before. So it's not like one team was more rested than the other. And they fell behind Arizona, but then they came back and tied the game and sent it to overtime and eventually a shootout. It was a marathon 11 round shootout before the Coyotes finally won. So the Kings got a point out of that game at least to close within 4 points of St. Louis, but they still have a lot of work to do. They certainly didn't help themselves in those two games. Basically, the rest of the season comes down to this. They have 14 games remaining. 6 of those 14 games are against Calgary and Edmonton, both of which are ahead of the Kings. Whether or not they can catch either one, I don't think they can. Calgary's way too far ahead. They just ran off a 10-game winning streak, so they're probably too far ahead of the Kings. But Kings need to beat them, of course. And Edmonton, they might have a chance of catching, but really the Kings need to worry about catching St. Louis or whoever ends up in that final wild card playoff position. They also take on Winnipeg, the New York Rangers, Anaheim, San Jose, Arizona, and tonight they host another team with a rising young star, the Buffalo Sabres and Jack Eichel. Basically, the Kings need to win probably at least 6 or 7 of those final 14 games if they want to have any chance of making the playoffs. Right now, I just don't know that it's going to happen. I don't think they can win that many games. They're going to struggle to beat Calgary. They're going to struggle to beat Edmonton. They will have a lot of trouble with San Jose. They'll have a lot of trouble with the Rangers. They'll have a lot of trouble beating Anaheim. So I don't know. I don't see them winning a lot of these remaining games. They basically had to win most of their home games on this homestand, and they haven't done it yet. They keep falling behind early in games, which they can't do. Um, there's only so many times you can go to that well of making some sort of comeback to end up getting points out of the game. And I think that well has pretty much run dry on the Kings. So it's not looking good. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they'll go on a nice little winning streak like Calgary just did, where the Flames won 10 games in a row. Maybe the Kings can rattle off, maybe 8 of the final 14 or something like that and get themselves into the playoffs. But I don't have a lot of hope at this point. If the Kings miss the playoffs, it would not surprise me if head coach Daryl Sutter either retires or is fired. It also wouldn't surprise me if that happens if general manager Dean Lombardi is also fired or resigns or retires or whatever. I think the Kings have pretty much run their course with these two guys. Back in February, I think it was late January, early February, the Kings were losing a lot of games in a row, and they had that week-long break coming up. And I thought the Kings were going to make a move then. I thought they were going to fire Daryl Sutter at that time. They had a week off, and Boston had just fired Claude Julien. But instead, the Kings stayed with Coach Sutter, and Julien ended up getting hired by Montreal. And so right now, there aren't any big name coaches available. So there's no point in making a move now. Ride out the rest of the season, see what happens. I don't wish on anyone to get fired. I don't want to see anybody lose a job, but I just get the impression that the Kings have pretty much come to the end of the road with Daryl Sutter. He seems to be very frustrated on the bench, which he should be the way they're playing. And while the Kings seem to play hard for him, there just doesn't seem to be that connection anymore that got them to 2 Stanley Cups in 3 years. So I don't know what's going to happen. It's going to be interesting to see if the Kings do make the playoffs. Then probably Lombardi stays and Sutter stays, and we'll try again for another year, even if they don't get far in the playoffs, which I don't know if they would or not. If they miss the playoffs, then yeah, I think that's probably going to be the end of the road for those two guys. So we'll see what happens. Tonight they take on Buffalo. Again, they need to win. There's just there's no tomorrow. There's no, well, if we don't get points tonight, we can get them the next game. No, you need to win these games. Plain and simple. It's time to put pedal to the metal and get some points out of these games, LA. So thanks for watching my videos. Please post comments below if you like. I'm happy to have discussions with Kings fans anytime. And like my videos, subscribe to my channel, and thanks a lot. Have a good one. Go Kings!